Hi, everyone. It says I'm going live. Let me make sure. Yes, it worked. Yay. So, welcome, everyone. I spent an hour this morning doing 6 test runs of Zoom, streaming to YouTube, and I figured it out. And let me just tell you, it is not intuitive. It is not even logical, actually. I had to find somebody's YouTube video who went through, and she even said every time she sets one up, she gets confused and she had to write notes and refer to them every time. Anyhow, we're here. I'm so happy that it worked. So welcome. I logged in a few minutes early just so we could arrive. And feel free to say hi in the little chat. And so, hello, Debbie and Skagway private tours. Sorry, I didn't see the second part. The one thing I need to just figure out is, yes, I see. Okay, so I can see the chat in the studio and I can also see it on the screen. So what I'll tell you, and I'm not going to start until, at least exactly 2 o'clock, 'cause there's a few more minutes for people to arrive, but I might just give a couple minutes for people to get here. But I will say that once I start teaching, I will not be looking at the chat because I will be teaching. Occasionally, if I'm saying something, wanting to check in on everybody's 2 cents or whatever, then I'll go over to the chat, but I can't have that open while I'm teaching or I'll be like a little too much information. So but then I will return to the chat at the end because I actually am going to have time for a Q&A and questions about this content, and also my class course is launching March 1st. I'll mention that about 5 minutes. I think there's 3 slides with just some basic info, but the rest of this class is, full on original content teaching. It also is, interestingly, not what I expected. I got taken on a journey with this masterclass. And you guys may have seen some of that in the email I sent out. It was just like the downloads and then the things that came in, and then I'd research them and I'd find out they're true, and that would take me down this rabbit hole. Anyhow, you guys will get the benefit of all of it today. I also want to tell you this PowerPoint was the hardest PowerPoint to ever put together. And I think I did a really good job. So, normally, I have a very logical scientific mind. I used to want to be a scientist. I want to be an astronaut when I was little, and I was into advanced math and science, whatever. And so I have that part of me. And this Neptune North Node conjunction that's exact tonight has been so mystical. And by the way, it's on my progress south node. So, and then Neptune's heading to my natal south node. So I'm in it. And it has been so off the charts, just, I ranging from states of bliss to having these downloads and visions and dreams. And to put a PowerPoint together required logic and practicality. And normally I'm really good at that. And this week, it was definitely, I think that this PowerPoint took twice as long to put together than usual PowerPoints because of the Neptune energy. So I'm wondering if you guys are all feeling it. I mean, obviously, if you have something in your chart that's getting activated by it, you're going to be feeling it maybe more than others. But are you feeling the Neptune North Node conjunction? Feel free to tell me in the chat. And I love seeing everybody. Hello. I'm not going to read through all the chat right now, but I do always read the chat later. And I think I set it up in a way where it stays up after the fact because there's something you have to code for that. Also, I do know that there is a delay. So I'm talking, and then I think you guys get what I said Actually, I'm watching my video. I'm just kind of tracking it to see how long it might take. It almost looks like wow, it's a pretty decent delay. Whoa, yeah, that was a good 30 seconds. So if I do ask any questions and go check in on the chat, there will be a delay. So you guys won't be answering me right away. Um, so I just have to keep that in mind. And yeah, I'm really happy to see everybody here. And I love when people put where they're calling, not calling, but logging in from. I'm in Asheville, North Carolina, so that's where I live now. Moved here 2.5 years ago. Was here for the well, actually wasn't here for the day of the hurricane. We were out of town, but I lived here through it. I can see the Blue Ridge Mountains outside my window, and I'm just seeing now people are answering my question about Neptune. So I'm seeing yes, dreaming like a fiend, very intense dreams and spacey. It's also on my natal South Node, Carolina. So you and me, we're in the we're in the same space. Intense, interesting dreams. Yeah, dreams. Neptune and Pisces rule dreams, and there's a slide all about that. So we'll talk about it. So, all right, I think it's 2:03 now. So I need to figure out how to do this. I'm gonna have to tuck to the side the thing where I can see chat. And so just know I'm not going to be seeing things right now, but I will return to it. So let me see. Do we have everything? Got my crystals, my rose oil, my water, and let's dive in. So welcome to this masterclass. I've entitled it Holy Mother of God, the Descent of the Divine Feminine. And this is one of my favorite artists is Nicholas Roerich. He is a mystic, occultist, amazing, spiritual, inspired, artistic expression painter who has passed. And he has or his museum is in New York. And I actually wrote the museum to ask for permission to use his images on my website for a class I taught before, but also for this one. This one here is one of a few versions he has of a painting called Mother of the World. And you can't see the whole image here because I had to fit it in a little circle, but it just evokes the Divine Mother in such a beautiful way. It's one of my favorite paintings ever. So welcome. And I will always reference, there's some pieces of art throughout. I'll tell you the artist's name unless I couldn't find it. And this one I couldn't. Looked on Google Image and TinEye, and it just was all I was seeing was people reposting the image. But I know it's from a long time ago because it has an older feel to it. So welcome to this masterclass. And I think it's going to be about 2 hours, but I always will just stay until I'm done. I mean, not just till I'm done, but till the questions are done. So, I teach in a flow state with a PowerPoint, obviously. So there is some structure. I'm going to talk about myself briefly. I mean, most of you probably know who I am, but just in case. Then we'll talk about Neptune, the North Node, and Pisces. And there's various things we'll be talking about with that. We're also going to look at the history of some of the Neptune and Pisces transits and the Neptune North Node conjunctions. I'm going to talk about the moon max out of bounds, which is part of the major lunar standstill cycle that we are at the peak of, and how that ties in to the energy. I will talk about Venus retrograde, which is coming up next Saturday. Venus stations retrograde, heading into the underworld with the goddess of love and beauty. I'll also talk about Neptune moving into Aries, which happens March 30th. And I'll even touch on the Saturn-Neptune conjunction that happens next year, but how the astrology right now is tied into that. And then I will share about my course that's timed with Venus retrograde, the Holy Grail becoming the vessel. Just give you some basic info, and I'll give you the link to the landing page so you can see more. And if you stay till the end, I have coupon discount code, limited time availability for the course. Also, a discount code for other on-demand classes, just available to the end of day Monday, the 24th. I had to remember what day it was. And then also at the end, I'm going to give you an offering for dream incubation that you can bring into the dream space tonight for the Neptune North Node conjunction. It's exact 10:47 p.m. Eastern, so I'll definitely be asleep by then. I go to bed early. On, the West Coast, it's going to be 7:47, so you might not be asleep yet, but you can bring it into the dream space. If you're in Europe, it can be in the middle of the night or maybe early morning, and of course, wherever you are. Australia, I don't know what time it will be, but I think it's in your morning. Anyhow, so I will give that as well towards the end. So just about me, I'm a mother, I'm a mystic, I'm a mythologist, I'm an astrologer and a writer and a teacher. I am an initiated high priestess. I've been a student of astrology for 28, almost 29 years, which is a Saturn return. I'm heading into my Saturn return with my astrology studies. I've been writing and consulting, doing readings for astrology for 17 years, and I've been teaching for 14 years. So I actually just had, in the last couple of years, my Jupiter return for teaching, and I'm heading into my nodal return for writing and consulting. So clearly the two teacher planets and the North Node of Destiny have been tied into the whole arc of my studies and then profession of astrology. I have my master's degree in depth psychology, and I got it from Pacifica Graduate Institute. And so all of that informs how I teach, how I view things, how I live my life too. Also, I really do want to presence and speak to my lineages that come through me. So I'm Hawaiian, and I'm also Celtic. I'm all the Celtics. I'm Scottish, English, Welsh, Irish, and French, and Italian. So they inform that. I've been initiated as a priestess in several traditions, the Avalon tradition, an Egyptian tradition, and then also my Hawaiian name that was given to me is a priestess name and is something that came through my family line. So I have ancestors from the lands I'm going to be speaking about today. And all of these planetary lineages inform what I share, as do my star connections, particularly Sirius, but also the Pleiades, Vega, Arcturus, and Hadar. So all of that and more probably is coming through. So this piece of art is Awen the Three Rays by Jess Shannon from Deviant Art. And it's essentially standing stones with three stars above and the priestess there with what looks like geese. And it's a very evocative image, especially when you can see the whole thing. And it's the image of Awen, which I have a slide on in a little bit. So Neptune conjunct the North Node is essentially what inspired this masterclass in the Pisces waters of creation. And, at first I thought the whole thing was just going to be about Neptune and the North Node. And of course, Venus is going to be triggering it and, talking about Neptune, going from the omega point to the alpha point. And I just, Neptune on the North Node opened the gateway for the deluge of information and inspiration that I had no idea was coming in. So thanks, Neptune on the North Node. And you'll see what all that is. So first, we are going to start with Neptune on the North Node. So the archetypal meaning of Neptune, this is not an exhaustive list, but gets you to really just kind of feel the essence. So Neptune governs mysticism, intuition, imagination, and inner spirituality. I like to talk about how there's like the outer spiritual journey where we travel somewhere, take a course, read a book, spiritually grow. And then there's the inner journey where we close our eyes, we dream, we go inside. Neptune is that inner process of spirituality. Jupiter actually would be more external. And then Pisces, the sign that Neptune rules in Sagittarius, would reflect those two sides as well. Neptune governs transcendence and idealism and fantasy and the dissolution of ego boundaries. Neptune governs compassion and altruism, unconditional love, agape, divine love, but also illusion, delusion, deception, and confusion. He governs dreams, and already lots of people are talking about their dreams. Expect them to get more amplified in the weeks and couple months to come. And he governs liminal space, which is neither here nor there. You know, liminal space is not black, not white, but what's in between. It's not the inhale or the exhale, but it's that moment in between. And liminal space is governed by Neptune. And in embodied astrology, which is a course I teach that's available on demand, all the planets and the signs correlate to parts of the body. And Neptune is the higher heart. The personal heart is Venus, but the higher heart, which is up by the thymus, is connected to Neptune, of course, as the archetype of divine love. It's, you know, love taken to a higher octave. But Neptune's also connected to the crown, along with Jupiter, the two spiritual planets, you know, governing the crown, I think probably makes sense. So Neptune is the Roman name for this planet. The Greek name is Poseidon. Some say that he used to be a she, a female deity, maybe a long time ago. At the very least, he's more of the dark lunar masculine. And I don't mean dark as evil. I mean dark meaning connected to what's not visible, to the conscious self and the ego. Not that solar masculine, but that more reflective lunar masculine. He's the god of the oceans, which are deep and vast. And what lies beneath these oceans is very much hidden unless you dive down to go look. So the archetypal meaning of Pisces, which is the sign that Neptune governs, it's the last sign in tropical astrology. So I teach two types of astrology. I teach tropical, and I'm going to be referencing that today. And I teach living sky, which is what my whole Stargate Mystery School course was about. And I'll make some references to living sky as well. But in tropical astrology, Pisces is the last sign. And it's the fishes swimming in the primordial waters of creation. And these are the waters that are both the womb and the tomb, both of birth and death. So it's what you come out of when you're ready to be born, and it's what you go back into when you're ready to go back to source, and then you reformulate and come back out again. It's mutable water. So there's three types of water. There's cardinal water, which is the first water sign, Cancer. Then there's Scorpio, which is fixed water. And then there's mutable water. Cardinal initiates the season. So Cancer is the beginning of summer in the northern hemisphere. It has a very action-oriented, like let's set something into motion energy because it's starting the season. Scorpio in the northern hemisphere is mid-fall. So the fixed signs are the midpoints of the season. They're actually the highest potent energy of the season. But fixed is also like, it's not starting things, it's also not ending things, and it can be a little rigid or resistant to change because it's meant to maintain the season. And then the mutable is like at the very end. It's about to transition to a new season, but with Pisces, it's not just transitioning to a new season, it's transitioning to the beginning of the new astrological year, according to tropical astrology. So it's the end of the end of the end, and it's the omega point. And you can think of Aries as the alpha point, so the start and the end. Pisces has a lot of similar qualities to the ruling planet of Neptune: mystical, magical, intuitive, otherworldly, psychic and spiritual and dreamy, but also escapist, addictive. And the addictions that come with Pisces are because of feeling too much. It's like, whoa, it's overwhelming. I need to have a glass of wine or smoke some pot or check out, you know, because it's like too much. And also spiritual bypassing, which both of them, Neptune and Pisces, can do in shadow. I teach about that a lot in astrology in your shadow, but it's where we use spirituality to avoid facing our pain. And when we go up into spirit, instead of being in the body, being human, dealing with also the human day-to-day things. And so That's one of the shadow sides. Pisces has a great capacity for faith, trust in the universe, and surrender. And in embodied astrology, Pisces rules the feet, which is interesting. Head is Aries, Pisces is feet. In Hawaiian mysticism, the feet represent our ancestors and who we come from, whose footsteps we walk in, which is why at the start, when I was saying who I am, I'm talking about my lineages because they're with me. They're in my DNA. Yours are in you. In Indian lore, when a baby is born feet first, they were seen as a guru or a teacher. And it's even said that, like, the Buddha and Jesus and beings like that were supposedly born breech, feet first. I don't know if it's, I don't remember. I don't know if I was there. So Pisces is the old man, old woman at the end of life. And has the life experience turned into wisdom? That's the highest, right? Otherwise, it could have been the life experience just shuts us down and we're just ready to die. And we go into escapism and addiction. So there's different ways for every sign and planet to operate. The higher frequency, the lower frequency. And is why I teach shadow work, because especially spiritual beings, which you all are if you're here, the tendency is to want to go up into spirit world. And actually, we need to come all the way down and in. And working through our unresolved wounds and pain and trauma is part of how we can fully embody. Otherwise, we're trying to use spirit and spiritual things to escape that. So that's a big part of what I teach. So Pisces and Neptune govern the numinous. And this image was made for me by my student and sister, Susie Farmer. She made a bunch of images for me in my classes. And here I'm going to read to you what numinous is. Like, this is from the dictionary, first of all, and then I'm going to read something from the Jungian Center. So numinous means arousing spiritual or religious emotion, mysterious or awe-inspiring, also supernatural, appealing to the aesthetic sensibility. The term was first given in its present sense by the German theologian and philosopher Rudolf Otto in his influential 1917 German book, The Idea of Holy. Oops, what just happened? There we go. He also used the phrase mysterium tremendum as another description for the phenomenon. So they say here that thinkers like Carl Jung, Mircea Eliade, C.S. Lewis were influenced by this man and his idea of the numinous. So the Jungian Center has this to say about Jung's understanding of the numinous. Some of the positive qualities of numinosum include sublimity, awe, excitement, bliss, rapture, exaltation, entrancement, fascination, attraction, and allure, what Otto called impelling motive power. Not so pleasant other qualities also are included, like overwhelmment, fear, trembling, weirdness, eeriness, humility, but in the acute sense of unworthiness. So not like the pure humility. Urgency, stupor, or blank wonder, bewilderment, horror, mental agitation, repulsion, haunting, daunting, monstrous feelings, our heart being overbrimmed. So essentially, they say that the numinous is the great mystery that makes us tremble in awe because it grips or stirs the mind. And so it's also ineffable, and you can't put it into words. You can try, but you can't, because it eludes apprehension in terms of concepts. It's so much bigger than the mind. And so the key with the numinous and with Neptune and with Pisces is surrender. If you fight it, then you get all these overwhelmed, fear, weirdness, eeriness, urgency, mental agitation. If you fight it, you can even go mad. If you repress it, you will be cut off from the magic and the mystery of the universe, and then it will come out when you least expect it in terms of these fears and overwhelmments, the shadow sides. And so surrender is so important with Neptune and Pisces. Now, here's a few quotes about the numinous. This one's by Mary Carr. Every now and then we enter the presence of the numinous and deduce for an instant how we're formed, in what detail the force that infuses every petal might specifically run through us, wishing only to lure us into our full potential. That to me, ooh, I got chills. That to me is Neptune on the North Node of Destiny, luring us into our full potential. And this is Terence McKenna. The numinous depth of the mystery that seems to have called us out of the animal mind is completely impenetrable to modern analysis. So again, how the mind cannot conceive of the great mystery. It can try. It can, attempt to. It can have little moments, but it's so much beyond the mind. And so is Neptune and Pisces. And these are actually the nodes. The North Node's in Pisces, South Node's in Virgo. Virgo is the mental analytical mind, and Pisces is the great mystery. And the nodes are even kind of evoking this journey from releasing the mind and moving into the mystery. And then this last one's Carl Jung. So the main interest of my work is not concerned with the treatment of neurosis, but rather with the approach to the numinous. But the fact that the approach to the numinous is the real therapy, and inasmuch as you attain to the numinous experience, you are released from the curse of pathology. Even the very disease takes on a numinous character. So he's essentially saying that it's the numinous that heals. And he's also saying the disease can take on a numinous character. So healing doesn't necessarily mean poof, all your issues go away. It's the relationship to them. It's like you're not that small self, that little mind anymore who feels trapped. You've realized your oneness or expanded in some way where whatever's going on, that's the neurosis or the pathology or the issue in your life, all of a sudden, in comparison to the vastness of your spirit, is like so small, it's not something that is now taking you over. And so the numinous is the medicine. And this is the portal we're entering into and through. Tonight, with the mean North Node Neptune conjunction, the true one was February 6th, I believe. I wrote it down on another slide. Pretty sure it was February 6th. I use the mean nodes when I'm teaching and like forecasting, because the true nodes are erratic and they'll go back and forth and direct and retrograde, and they're just more wild and chaotic to track. But I will always look at the window. So the window of Neptune North Node was February 6th. I believe it was that, either that or the 7th, but I'll confirm on whatever slide I have it on, until tonight. But then that takes us in to this portal. As we can see, this is like the opening of the portal, but then all the stuff that's coming after is there's more. So it's not just like, oh, after tonight it's over. So it's important to be giving your inner world a lot of focus in the next, especially couple of months, because there's so much available, but we have to have eyes to see and ears to hear, right? You've heard that quote from the Bible. And if you're too busy in the outer world and doing all these things, then you might miss out. There's also this quote, I forget who said it, but it says, "A pickpocket sees a holy man, and all he sees are pockets." So he's in the presence of holiness, but all he sees is the thing he's focused on, which is coming from his lack or his fear. He's a pickpocket. So with this astrology, intention, introspection, cultivating sacred space for the numinous to descend is key. And it's why I've timed my course with this astrology. So these are the tarot cards for Neptune on the left, Pisces on the right. And I did have somebody email me I'm just remembering right now, and I'm sorry I didn't write you back if you're here, about when am I doing the tarot course? So I was planning on teaching a tarot course this year, but I always teach courses based on inspiration and guidance. And the Holy Grail becoming the vessel dropped in, and it was just like this one got pushed to the side. So maybe this will happen in the fall, or it might be the beginning of next year. So I apologize to anybody who was waiting for that. So left-hand side, Hanged Man, the Neptune card. So he's upside down. He's surrendering his head, his mind, and his feet are up first. Pisces rolls the feet. His head is full of light. It's the realization that comes when we surrender. He is enlightened. And he sees the world upside down. And in many mystical teachings, they say that the world we see, that we think is real, is actually an inversion of the truth. And that you can only see the real truth when you turn things back upside down, which is reflected in the pentacle. When you see the pentacle upside down, it's supposed to be a symbol for Satan or evil. And it's because we've taken what's real and we've reversed it. So he's hanging by his right foot, the masculine foot. His left foot is folded behind him. The feminine side of him is in the position of surrender. Being upside down reverses the ego and can lead to spiritual awakening. It's a card of withdrawal. And what's interesting is this year of 2025 is the year of the yin snake. And it's also the year of the hermit card in the tarot. And both of those are about withdrawal, turning within, spiritual focus. It's like a double whammy, the tarot card for the year and the Chinese or Asian New Year symbol. This card tells us it's time to cultivate our connection with our inner self, our inner voice, our intuition, and find a direct experience of the divine through surrender and inward journeys. Now, the moon on the right, most people see this card as negative, and I disagree. I love it. But I also have a Pisces moon, so it might be why. The moon, sorry, looks like a sun, interestingly, but it's a moon. And the yods that are falling, there's 15 of them falling down. Between the two pillars, which kind of evokes the pillars of the high priestess. If you know the high priestess card, she sits rather in front of two pillars. They don't look exactly the same, but they are, the same symbol of two pillars upright. And this can imply that this is what lies behind her. If you go behind the high priestess and see what's hiding behind her, it can be this land of the moon. We've got a dog, a wolf that looks like a rabbit dog, and this is about facing emotions, both the happy puppy loved ones, but also the fear, the anger, the rage. The lobster crayfish thing coming out of the water speaks to what's in the unconscious. The moon card is a card of myth and imagination and vision and dreams. But it's also connected to madness, because it brings up all the stuff that we've been stuffing, that we've been repressing, that we've been denying. So we have to face our fears. We have to feel our emotions and process them to understand what's going on behind, the high priestess or in the unconscious. Rachel Pollack, who is an amazing being who did deep work on the tarot, she passed away, I believe, a couple years ago. She says the moon is said to increase on the side of mercy. And so that is speaking to the pillars of the high priestess. She sits between the black pillar of severity and the white pillar of mercy. And so the moon increases on the side of mercy. It's connected to mercy and love. And the pathway of facing our fears and emotions is not meant to torture us. It's meant to help to get us to a place of inner peace because we've moved through things, not avoided them or suppressed them or denied them. It's a very psychic, intuitive card. And when we work with what's getting evoked emotionally and psychically with the moon card, we actually can have a profound psychic spiritual awakening, but we have to surrender for it to happen. The ego and the mind cannot control. That's why the dude is upside down. So both of these cards demand surrender. And we have to surrender what we think we know and surrender, our ego and need for control and whatever else is blocking us in order to allow what Neptune wants to bring in. So these are important energies when you're tuning in to Neptune conjunct the North Node and the journey that lies ahead, particularly with Venus retrograde, because she's going to trigger Neptune on the North Node 3 times. In the Cathar Tarot deck, the Hermit card, which is the card for the year of 2025, and I have a whole 2025 yearly forecast that you can watch. It's on my YouTube channel. But that card is called the Grail Knight. So it's also evoking this year, the year of the Grail journey. And the Hermit is very much on a Grail journey, but he's going inside, and that is actually the point. So the archetypal meaning of the North Node is connected to the moon and its orbit around the Earth. So you can see the sun's orbit is like the line that doesn't have a break in it, and the moon's orbit is the one with the little break. And so the moon's orbit around the Earth is tilted relative to the ecliptic, and the ecliptic is the path of the sun. So the North Node is where the moon crosses the ecliptic right here, goes from below and goes above. That's the North Node. South Node is where it goes from above, crosses the ecliptic, and goes below. And so the North Node is in Vedic astrology is called the dragon's head, and the South Node is a dragon's tail. The North Node is a point of destiny and evolution. It's our path of growth. And it's where we can reach for the heavens and above. It's where we're being called forward to grow more into who we can really be. But it's also not the easy path because it's unfamiliar. It's not the point of comfort. That would be the South Node. So I say in readings, I'll tell people the North Node is where you get pushed out of the nest and you have to figure out how to fly while you're falling down. That's the North Node. It pushes us. It goes, okay, now's time. Haven't done it yet. You keep staying stuck in the past. Let's go. So there is going to be like an unknown energy with the North Node. Now, the South Node is the opposite. It's all about the past. It is about karma, but karma doesn't just mean bad things. Karma just means the results now of the seeds we planted in the past. If we planted good seeds, your karma can be some good karma. If you didn't plant such good seeds, then maybe the karma's not so good. Or maybe you planted seeds, but you didn't water them and take care of them, so now they're dead. So it's all about what you did and then what's here now as a result of it. That's South Node. So positive and negative, light and shadow, all of it can reflect here. So South Node speaks to what we bring with us from the past and also karmic patterns we stay stuck in and also gifts we've cultivated from previous lifetimes that are easy now. They're not unknown. They're not where we're getting pushed out of a nest and we have to figure it out. We've spent a long time mastering it, but it is a place we'll stay stuck. So ultimately, the nodes need to be balanced. We need to deal with the unresolved things from the past, but also bring forward from the past the good things that are of value, that are our gifts that we've mastered. And we also want to balance that with moving forward into the future, growing past our growth edge, willing to go into new territory, even if it scares us, even if it's unfamiliar. So Neptune and Pisces are the energies that are infusing the North Node, the North Node of evolution. And everything I just shared on all these previous slides is that point of growth. And this is happening for all of humanity. So you all here, I already know the Pisces Neptune energy is not new to you, but it may very well be for a lot of other people on the planet. It's a push to open up spiritually to whatever is the next level for you. So some of you will be, whatever, I don't know, graduating high school, moving into your, bachelor's degree on the spiritual path. And some people might be in kindergarten, just starting school. Who knows? So the energies will push you and motivate you wherever you're at. So this is just the chart for the exact Neptune North Node conjunction. And I'm just going to take a pause for a sec and make sure that we're doing good. Yes. Okay, good. So Here is the Neptune North Node conjunction 2841 Pisces. It's exact at 10:47 p.m. I cast this chart for Washington, D.C. But to be clear, in case you haven't figured that out yet, I won't really be talking about mundane things in this talk. So there's some great astrologers who have blogs up about the mundane events of Neptune on the North Node. I'm talking about the spiritual and the mystical. That's what we're focusing on here. So, here, this is where true was February 6th. 9:50 p.m. Eastern Time at 2809 Pisces, and then the mean is tonight at 10:47 p.m. at 2840 Pisces. So the window is February 6th through 22nd today. And it's at the 29th degree of Pisces. When you round up for the degrees, it's always to the nearest whole degree. So both 28, whatever I said, 09 and 2840 round up to 29. So it's the second to the last degree of Pisces. Now, I want to read to you what Solar Fire said about Neptune on the North Node, just like generally, because I saw it and I was like, oh, that's great. I'm going to share it. I don't need to reinvent the wheel here. It was insightful. So it says, you can see issues from the past magically dissolve, paving the way for more positive activities and connections with people. Listen to your intuition and your dreams. It's an ideal time to walk away from anything that involves stress and embrace new opportunities that enhance peace and self-acceptance. Dreams have the power to materialize now. Opportunities arise from seemingly nowhere as destiny gently plays its hand. Linda Goodman says these connections can show a time when inspiration acts as a catalyst to profound artistic and spiritual accomplishments. It may coincide with the transcendence to a higher spiritual level through meditation, dream work, and other altered states of consciousness. And it's a time to believe in miracles because they can occur. Angelic forces are at play. So here, this is the Star Sparks meditation by Elias Lonsdale, whose name I meant to put in there, so I apologize. He has a few versions of the degrees, and the Star Sparks are my hands down favorite. They're deep, they're esoteric, they're really great for shadow work. So I want to read this to you, and you can read it along with me. This is the degree that the Neptune North Node conjunction is activating. Balinese dancers wearing elaborate gold costumes. Fantastic display of color, form, and movement. Highly accomplished invocation of deity, of the infinite, of that which surpasses understanding. A feeling for worlds beyond and a great desire to show how those greater worlds come through into this one very fully across a vast spectrum of possible expressions. All of these formal, ritualized, and done just as directed by the gods themselves. A stunning panorama of special effects, of brilliant technique and established proficiencies, yet none of this is sensed as really the point. We are seeking to form a sacred vessel and to make it hardy and rightful and expressive for all who meet it. The interior focus lies in the inspiration, the infusion, the call to be one of those who reveals the mysteries in just the way they're intended to come forth. A torturous willingness to go through anything and everything it takes, extended cycles of getting it right, a fabulous devotion to craft, an insatiable need to feel that we are precisely enacting the great infinite way in this moment, and such a pageantry that it cannot be missed or cast aside. Bizarre depths of absorption in the code of warrior. The karmic warrior seeks to unveil what was hidden, serve in ultimate ways, and be here when it counts. The need is felt to bring these ancient, timeless ways into this world now, without betraying their essence or their substance. A delicate, fine-tuned, hypersensitized nature, a sense of being witnessed by so many beings, a call to allow beauty and truth to merge and commingle through this one's own special talents, and more than anything else, the vow to hold the pattern sacred and not let the gods down. I've got chills again. I've been having lots of chills. No, that kind of week, past couple weeks actually. So for me, there's so many things that stand out, but obviously we're seeking to form a sacred vessel, the Holy Grail, becoming the Grail. But also these last lines here, the need is felt to bring these ancient timeless ways into this world now without betraying their essence or their substance is really important when it comes to the things I'm going to share with you that are the things I had no idea that this class was going to be about. So Neptune into Pisces. So we're about to have Neptune into Aries, but we're reflecting. Neptune first moved into Pisces April 4th, 2011. He went back and forth between Aquarius and Pisces and then went into Pisces for good February 3rd, 2012. This year of 2025, Neptune goes back and forth between Pisces and Aries, and then he will exit Pisces and enter Aries, tropical Aries, for good January 26, 2026. So you can reflect back 2011, 2012, and what came into your life at the start, because there's this kind of, I think it's like a mystical saying, but as you start, so shall you finish. As you finish, so shall you start. It's kind of mirroring the as above, so below, but how things began and how things end are interconnected. So your own personal reflection on what was starting for you in 2011, 2012, and then kind of seeing the full arc of that and where you're at with it now can be a meaningful thing to sit with. I know for me, that was when I started getting full throttle into divine feminine sacred sites. I led a pilgrimage to south of France for the Venus occultation of the sun in 2012. I got onto the priestess path in 2013. Like I can totally see what was going on for me. Also, just, from a more everybody in the world perspective, there's definitely been a huge rise in astrology and spirituality and mysticism, in the new age, if you want to call it that, in these last 14 years. And it's been like next level, I think. Would you not say so? So the history of Neptune and Pisces. Now, I just started to do some research. I didn't even know what I was looking for, but I was told to look for it. So, and I only got through the past few centuries and then I had enough, so this is not an exhaustive list of Neptune and Pisces for the last 6,000 years. But the last time Neptune was in Pisces was 1847 to 1862. The last time Neptune was on the mean North Node in Pisces was January 18th, 1858. The last time Neptune was on the mean North Node at the same degree as today, 28 and change, so rounding up 29, was March 1st, 1206. Both of these times in history are mystically and spiritually significant. And that will be my focus in the next few slides. So let's start with 1858. The Mary apparitions, Holy Mother of God. So I happened upon the Mary apparitions, which I love the Virgin Mary. I mean, I will say my own journey is Mary Magdalene came to me first, and I just developed a deep love for her. And then there was this point where I had to reclaim the Virgin Mary because I was raised born again Christian. And so I kind of had this like dogma of Virgin Mary, never had sex, pure and perfect, crying and just watching her son be killed. And like, she was the pure, virginal, perfect, the exalted feminine. And then Mary Magdalene was the whore, and she was bad and base and whatever. And so I just, was on the Magdalene path. And then the Virgin Mary came in, and I was just like, oh, and I had to reconnect with her true essence, not the polarization that has been kind of modeled about these two in most, patriarchal world religions. So these Mary apparitions are essentially appearances, visions of the Mother Mary or the Divine Feminine. It can be, Guadalupe, which is their version of this kind of essence. And so there are many, and I'm only going to focus on a few because these are the ones that came to me, and there were things that jumped out. Now, keep in mind that the ones I'm mentioning, and there's others, are the ones that have been approved. They're the approved apparitions by the church. I didn't even know that was a thing. I just learned that. So there are others that haven't been approved, which to me is so weird because visions are personal and they don't need external church authority telling you if your vision was legit or not. Now, of course, I know there's probably people out there that would make something up and say they had a vision when they really didn't. So, but that's on them, right? That's their soul and their spirit and their karma. So, but to tell some people, your vision isn't approved is strange to me. Anyhow, so the ones I'm going to focus on are Lourdes, Knock, Ireland, Lourdes, France, Knock, Ireland, and Fatima, Portugal. There is also, there's many others. There's Guadalupe. And then this one just says, where next? So I was researching what happened back in 1858 with the Neptune North Node conjunction. And I wasn't really interested in the mundane things, so I was just sort of scanning articles on like the news items of 1858 and kind of seeing, and then all of a sudden it happened upon that the first of the several Mary apparitions at Lourdes, I hope I'm pronouncing that correct, happened in 1858. And that led me down the rabbit hole of looking at several of these other apparitions, which I've never looked at from an astrological perspective. What I found were both towards the end of Cancer as well as the end of Pisces and or Neptune were strong in the apparition charts. So the very end of Cancer, the sign of the Divine Mother, the very end of Pisces, the primordial womb of creation and the fishes swimming in the primordial waters. And the end of these signs particularly are important because in tropical astrology, 0 to 23, 24 degrees of any sign is the tropical sign, but it's not till you get to 23, 24 until the last, until 30, that you actually have the living sky constellation correlating. So it's actually the very end of Cancer that's both tropical Cancer and living sky Cancer, like that the planet is actually in the Cancer constellation, as well as also the sign, which is tropical is based on seasons. So the signs actually are correlated to the seasons. And I teach this in Stargate Mystery School. So Cancer, Pisces, and or Neptune are strong. So I want to start with Lourdes. Lourdes. I took French. I don't know why that word is like hard. So the February 11th, 1858 was the first apparition of 18 of the Holy Mother in Lourdes, France. And the Neptune North Node conjunction was January 18th of 1858, so just under a month before that. And it was at 20 degrees, 20 something. I had it written down. I think it was on the other slide. It was 20 something degrees Pisces. And then Saturn was at 2248 Cancer, trining Neptune in the North Node. Now, Knock, Ireland, the South Node was conjunct Ceres, the Great Mother, from 21 to 24 Cancer. And then Neptune was conjunct Chiron in Taurus. So there was no Pisces standing out in that chart, but Neptune was strong. Our Lady of Fatima in Portugal had Saturn at 26 Cancer and Chiron conjunct Aries at 28 to 29 Pisces, the exact same degree that Neptune on the North Node is at tonight. So all three of them have things towards the end of Cancer and then in Pisces and or with Neptune. And what's interesting is those degrees of Cancer, 23 to 25, is where Procyon is, which is the star in Canis Minor. It's the star that comes before Sirius, the dog. Its name means before the dog. And Sirius is a powerful divine feminine star. And then Procyon is like comes before and heralds it. It heralds Sirius coming. So the Cancer Pisces energy, it makes so much sense to me. And I was really drawn to the Lourdes Lourdes apparitions because it was actually the Neptune North Node conjunction in Pisces. Not the same degree as today. That was 1206, but it was a replication of an energy today. So I just went into this one and dove deeper. So these are some images of the appearance of the Holy Mother. So there were a total of 18 apparitions, and the woman who saw them was named Bernadette Suplius. And her first vision was February 11th, 1858. The last was July 16th. So she had 18 apparitions in just over 5 months. And of course, the Neptune North Node conjunction was January 18th. So do the math. 24 days later was the first apparition. Also, what's interesting is Uranus back then is at the same part of the sky in Taurus, heading to the Pleiades. So that was also interesting. I'm going to read you this thing that I read online about this woman. So in southern France, Bernadette Subrius, a 14-year-old French peasant girl, first claims to have seen the Virgin Mary, the mother of Jesus Christ, and a central figure in the Roman Catholic religion. The apparitions totaled 18 before the end of the year, and they occurred in a grotto of a rock promontory near Lourdes, France. I think I said it right. Marie explained that the Virgin Mary revealed herself as the Immaculate Conception, asked that a chapel be built in the site of the vision, and told the girl to drink from a fountain in the grotto, which Marie subsequently discovered by digging into the earth. The concept of the Immaculate Conception, in which the Virgin Mary is regarded free from original sin from the moment of her conception, had been accepted for 4 years previous because of Pope Pius. Marie's claims garnered widespread attention, but skeptical church authorities subjected her to severe examinations and refused to accept her visions. After years of mistreatment at the hands of authorities and the curious public, she was finally allowed to enter the convent of Notre Dame de Nevers, where she spent her remaining years in prayer and seclusion, and she died of ill health at the age of 35. The site of her manifestation subsequently became the most famous modern shrine of the Virgin Mary. In 1933, Marie Bernard Subrius was canonized as Saint Bernadette by the Roman Catholic Church. Today, millions travel to Lourdes every year to visit Saint Bernadette's grotto, whose waters supposedly have curative powers. So I got to look, I was like, what is her birthday? I want to look at her birth chart. I could find her birthday. Obviously don't know her birth time. So she has tons of Neptune natally and tons of Pisces. And the Neptune North Node conjunction was on her Mars in Pisces. Neptune was squaring her nodes, North Node Sagittarius, South Node Gemini, and transiting Neptune on the day of her first vision was just past, or it was had just been, 19 or whatever, how many days past the conjunction of North Node, but was exactly to the minute square her progressed nodes on the day of the apparition. So she was being flooded with the Neptune North Node conjunction all throughout her chart. Interestingly, another piece that dropped in that's unrelated to her, but I think is related to this frequency of the Divine Mother. These apparitions in 1858 all occurred during the gestation of Teddy Roosevelt, one of the presidents of the United States of America. He was born October 27, 1858. So in January, mid-January, the Neptune North Node conjunction could be around the time he was conceived or his soul was starting to come in. All the apparitions happened during his gestation. He is a pivotal figure for America. And I have an article, you have to read it. It's called Transformation of the Nation, Part 2, because Part 1 is about Pluto return for America. But I talk about him, his spiritual destiny, the connection to the astrology right now, and that is linked to today and is evoking something from the past that's connected to him. And so I just thought it was interesting that all these apparitions happen when he was, being formulated in the womb. So Awen is the symbol, the Celtic symbol of inspiration and of spirit, harmony. The one on the left is the commonly seen one. So these are the 3 rays that represent the trinity of mind, body, soul, or above, below, within, or land, sea, and sky, or divine feminine, divine masculine, and the divine child that comes out of the divine union. So it's the descent of inspiration that comes from above. And inspiration originally meant filled with a holy breath. Comes from the same root word for spirit. Being filled with spirit is inspiration. And every time we inhale, we're being filled with spirit. We're inspiring. And then we're expiring. So holy breath, Holy Spirit, inspiration comes from them. And is very much connected to Neptune and Pisces. So the symbol on the left is the commonly used symbol showing the descent of Awen, but the symbol can also be turned upside down. And this can symbolize the inspiration rising from within, the ascent of Awen. So just as above, so below, as the universe, so the soul, as within, so without. We get inspiration from above, but we also have inspiration arise from within. So this is the same energy with a divine mother energy. So we can have the apparitions of Mary, and this is when she appears outside of us in a vision. And, we see her without, but she can also awaken within us, inside of us, and we can embody her, and we can become filled by her. We can become her holy vessels, which leads me to 1206 and the start of the 13th century, which I think in some newsletter or social media post I said the 12th century. So technically 1206 rounds up and it's the 13th century. So the south of France, 1206, the Cathars and the Albanenses. So the last Neptune North Node conjunction at the same degree as the one now in 2025 was March 1st, 1206. Neptune was conjunct the North Node at 2823 Pisces, and the one tonight is 2840, a mere 17 minutes away. From 3500 BC to 3500 AD, there's only 6 Neptune North Node conjunctions in the last 2 degrees of Pisces, with none in the first few degrees of Aries. There are a couple at 27 Pisces, but I was looking for the very end of the tropical zodiac. So 28 to 29, 29 to 30. I think the first one in Aries actually was at 5 or 6, so it wasn't even close. What is important to understand is that in tropical astrology, 28 to 30 Pisces leads into the spring equinox portal, and when the North Node is there, we are at the major lunar standstill, which happens every 19 years. So in 1206 and today, we have Neptune conjunct the North Node at the same degree, while also at the major lunar standstill with the max moon out of bounds. That happened back then, and it's happening now. And it's replicating the same energy. So I was playing with that, so I spent a lot of time like researching and data digesting. So when I ran all of the North Node Neptune conjunctions in those last 2 degrees of Pisces and first 2 of Aries, and there were none in the first 2 of Aries, the conjunctions were 2890 BC, 2071 BC, 1252 BC, and then this huge break from 1252 BC to 1206 BC. There were 2 in there that were at 27 Pisces, but not 28 to 29. Each of them is 819 years apart, like literally clockwork. They happen every 819 years apart. And then in that period where there wasn't 28 to 30, there was 27, but I was focusing on these last degrees. That was 2,458 years during the darkest of the descent years, often considered to be the worst, most intense part of the Kali Yuga. We didn't have Neptune conjunct the North Node at the very end of the tropical zodiac for these darkest years of the Kali Yuga. I found that interesting. So who are the Cathars? So they're the pure ones. Cathar means pure. Alba means, or comes from alba, from albanenses or Genesian, means white. So they're members of a secret church. They serve the Holy Spirit, the divine feminine, in the form of the Holy Grail and the goddess Sophia. The Grail quest for them was symbolic for the quest for the lost, denigrated, divine feminine. It was a quest for the anima, the soul of humans, but also the soul of the world. Symbols were doves, the Grail, the goddess Sophia, Mary Magdalene, and their spiritual teaching was one of teaching people to connect with their own soul and with the divine directly, without external authority or interference. As such, they were seen as dangerous by the Catholic Church. The Cathars were named the Albanenses because they wore white robes. The highest prefects that were initiated in the highest levels wore white robes. So they've got this purity, this white energy. The dove is white, obviously. They were called the Cathars by the Catholic Church, but among the people of the Languedoc, which is the area in which they live, they actually weren't called that. They were just called bonhommes, bonnes femmes, which are the good people, the good men, the good women. And they spoke of themselves and of each other as friends of God. So they actually believe there were two forces, a benevolent God that created the heaven and the spiritual world, and then a malevolent being who posed as God, but wasn't really God, and created the material world. And they called him the demiurge. And he traps humanity in materialism. And the Cathars believe that the God of the Bible was the demiurge. And so this is part of why they were called heretics, because they were essentially denouncing the God of the Bible. So this led me to a woman named Esclarmonde de Foix. So there's actually not a lot of images of her that are really good and evoked her for me. This one is actually of Esclarmonde, the Queen of Majorca, who is the great granddaughter of the Esclarmonde that I'm talking about's brother. So Esclarmonde's brother, Raymond Roger, his great-granddaughter was Esclarmonde de Foix, the Queen of Majorca. That's what this picture is. But she evokes the Esclarmonde energy, and she comes from the line, so I'm using her picture. So Esclarmonde de Foix was a divine feminine figure during the time of the Cathars. And her name means light of the world or clarity of the world. And 1206 was a couple of years before the official start to the Albigensian Crusade, which is essentially where the Catholic Church sought to kill off all the Cathars. And literally, 500,000 people died. And so due to them being threatened by the spiritual teachings they were spreading, they sought to, put the light out, kind of. So 1209 to 1229 was the official years of the crusade, but then there was this siege of Montsegur, which was a castle fortress where they were, hiding and trying to stay protected. And they got burned to their death in 1244. So the persecution lasted past 1229. So the Cathars were called heretics, and they were ruthlessly suppressed, burnt in pyres, so many of them killed. 500,000 people were killed. Not all of them were Cathars. Some of them were Catholics. And one of the Pope people was quoted saying, "Kill them all, God will know his own." So he just wanted them all exterminated, and he didn't care if somebody was a Cathar or not. He was just like, get rid of them all, which is horrible. The meaning of heretic means, as we understand it, means one who holds a doctrine at variance with established or dominant standards. It comes from the Greek word, I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this right, heretikos, which means able to choose. The term heretikos would have been used to describe individuals who introduce teachings contrary to the apostolic doctrine, thereby threatening the unity and orthodoxy of the church. But it derives from a verb that has to do with taking for yourself, choosing, preferring. It essentially describes someone who's able to choose. And, essentially they're saying a person who's free to choose is a heretic. So those who choose freedom over dogma are heretics. Fascinating etymology lesson. So interestingly, bringing Teddy Roosevelt back into the picture, who was gestated in 1858 during the Mary apparitions, he is related to Esclarmonde de Foix. She is his 22nd great aunt, and her brother is his 22nd grandfather. So he's related to this line of people. And Teddy Roosevelt has a ton of Pisces. He has Neptune in Pisces. He has Eris and the North Node conjunct in Pisces, all in his 10th house of Pisces, and his midheaven is the first degree of Pisces. And his moon is in Cancer conjunct Sirius. So he's a very Cancer Pisces person. He has the replication of the common signature of the Mary apparitions in his chart. And he's a Scorpio because he was born in October, end of October. So here's some images I couldn't find. Unless Massenet is no, I couldn't find the names of the people who made these, but these are just like some, artistic expressions of Esclarmonde. So she came from a noble family. She actually got married. She had kids. After her husband died, she dedicated herself to the Cathar faith, and she became initiated and was the equivalent of a female pope or a high priestess in the Cathar tradition. And it's actually said that the high priestess card in the Rider-Waite tarot deck is modeled after her, and that the Cathar spiritual tradition was hidden in the tarot. So they say it was about 40 years previous to the Montségur siege that was in 1244 that she had this sacred Cathar rite of becoming a perfect one. So there are some things online that say she got initiated in 1204. But there's also some things that say it was 1206, and I swear it's 1206. I feel like her initiation was at the precise time of the Neptune North Node conjunction. I think it was March 1st, 1206. So she did this rite that was essentially a baptism of the Holy Spirit that freed the soul from the bonds of the material world for all eternity. It was called the consolamentum, and it comes from medieval Latin, from Latin consolare, which means to console, but also be a source of comfort, of solace, to soothe. And the Cathar rite was typically done to soothe the soul of people dying. So it was at the end of death, but you could also choose to do it earlier in your life and then dedicate your life spiritually. I have a feeling that if you did it not right before you're dying, it had a different name, but I don't know. I couldn't find it. So if you do it before you're dying, it's like a death to the old self and a rebirth onto the new path. And if you do it at the end of life, it's consoling you because you're dying and you know that you're going to be liberated and free. So I believe that this happened for her on this exact conjunction because essentially she became the embodiment of the Holy Sophia. So just as Jesus became the Christ at his baptism with John the Baptist, with the descent of the Holy Spirit that came into him, she became the Sophia. And so this is an example of the ascent of Awen. It did descend into her, but also arose in her. It wasn't just she had a vision of Sophia or of the Virgin Mary, whatever, of the divine feminine. She had the divine feminine fill her up, and she became an embodiment of her, a manifestation of her. And this is also in part why the Catholic Church had a bounty on her head her whole entire life. They wanted the embodiment of the divine feminine killed, just like, back in the time of Jesus, they wanted Jesus dead. So we have a repetition of what happened then. Neptune on the North Node, same degree, with the moon out of bounds, which I have another slide on, happening again today, 819 years later. Every 819 years, we get a Neptune North Node conjunction towards the end of Pisces. But then that period of time, about 2,500 years, it's 27 or a little bit further in. It's only these dates that I gave for last 2 degrees. And we essentially have something returning. And the Cathars have prophecies. So they have one prophecy, they talk about 700-year prophecy, another is 717. But I think we can add the 819-year prophecy to it because the astrology shows it very clearly. So these are some beautiful images. Women saints on the left, female saints from the hours of Louis de Laval in the middle. It's actually one of my favorites because she looks like a golden serpent, looks like a serpent skin, and all these enlightened women. And then the one on the right is the 3 standing female saints, St. Clare, the Virgin Mary, St. Barbara by some anonymous German painter. So the Cathars had an understanding that the feminine is holy and that there's a great mother principle and that women were not chattel and lesser than, which definitely back then in the 12th and 13th centuries, women were being treated like that. So the only way that the true divine union can happen is when both are exalted to their highest, but also when both of their human mortal forms are honored and honoring of each other. So the Cathars had an understanding that love and kindness and compassion was utmost, and that all people were equal and they deserve love and care, and they actually tended to everybody no matter their station. And they understood that people were divine in their true nature, and that you could embody your divinity and become as an angel on earth, bring heaven to earth, which is the tagline on my website. It says, divine harmony, bringing heaven to earth. So you bring, heaven in through your being, through your presence, through your open heart. And so this was heresy to organized religion, as organized religion sought to be the gateway to God and amass money and power by controlling people's access to the divine. So turning the feminine, who they say is closest to God, into the most base, not worthy, not allowed to be a priest or own property or own herself for that matter, was an inversion of the truth. Remember that pentacle, that is the pentacle of Venus, which I have a picture of in a bit. When it's reversed, it's a symbol of Satan or evil. Well, they reversed the truth about the holiness of the feminine principle. Things are different today, thank the goddess. But the patriarchal overlay is still there. We can still see it in how we treat the earth, how we treat animals, how we treat indigenous cultures, how we treat the elderly. The feminine, yes, is women and beings with wombs, but it's also an essence that we all have and that is more aligned with certain things like animals and indigenous cultures and the elderly and the earth itself. So here's a few quotes about the divine feminine. So this is Rumi. Woman is a ray of God. She is not that earthly beloved. She is creative, not created. A woman's highest calling is to lead a man to his soul so as to unite him with Source. A man's highest calling is to protect woman so she is free to walk the earth unharmed. So this is key, and we can reflect this as our inner masculine and inner feminine. Our inner feminine is what connects us to Source and can lead our inner masculine to his soul. And our inner masculine is the one that holds our boundaries, protects us, keeps us safe, keeps the feminine free to walk the earth unharmed. This is one of the reasons I am a big proponent of teaching the ancient myths and talking about why we need new myths, because most of our Greek and Roman myths are myths full of rape, war, killing, domination, often, featuring a masculine hero archetype that's destructive and violent, slaying, things and winning things. And it is not the divine masculine essence. The divine masculine in its highest essence is the sacred defender and protector of innocence and purity, not the killer and the winner and the, one with all the bounty. And here's another Rumi quote. I love Rumi. A woman is a mystery to guide a wise and open man. So your own inner feminine is the mystery to guide your inner masculine. So this is also why I teach that the feminine needs to lead, because she receives from the divine the inspiration from the Source itself, and then she guides the masculine. He takes the action based on her guidance, but actually she's leading, and she is the heart. So it's about the heart leading. And the Cathars honored the feminine principle, and this is what is returning in new and expanded form, in a tipping point, threshold moment kind of way, the kind that takes over, a new consciousness that was seeded back then. So it's not new, but it's coming into full flower now and in the years ahead. So this is the prophecy, one of them. Guillaume Belibast said, in 700 years, the laurel will become green again and good people will return. So he was the last of the Cathars that were known, because I think a bunch of them were hiding in caves. He was burned at the stake by the Catholic Inquisition, August 21st, 1321. So, 1321 is a lot of years after 1244 in Montsegur. And he was quoted as saying, "We shall return in 700 years when the laurel turns green again." And then I've also seen a prophecy about 777 years. Well, if you do the math, 700 years from 1321 was 2021. So a couple years, 4 years ago. 777 years from 1244 was also 2021. So we've got prophecies coming to fruition now, and then now we've got the Neptune North Node conjunction at the same degree with max moon out of bounds replicating itself 819 years later. So we're in it. We're in the portal of these things returning. So what is the laurel? This is a statue of a more modern statue, obviously, but of Sophia, dressed in black with golden skin, a crown at her head. She's got an owl of wisdom on her left arm, and she's holding the laurel crown, but it's black. It's not green. The laurel is a symbol of the divine feminine. So there's a bunch of myths and interpretations connected to the laurel crown. One of them has to do with Daphne and Apollo. So Apollo is the sun god, the god of music and poetry and archery, and he apparently was mocking Eros, the god of love, for his use of arrows and the bow. And so Eros was kind of annoyed, so he created two arrows, a gold one and a lead one. And he shot Apollo with the gold one and made him fall in love with Daphne. Daphne was the daughter of Gaia, Mother Earth, and the river goddess Peneus. And she was a nymph. She was extraordinarily beautiful, but she had an oath of chastity, and she rebuked all suitors. And so she wasn't interested. Eros shot her with the lead arrow, and it incited hatred towards Apollo. So to save herself from his advances, which, by the way, advances back in Greek and Roman myth typically meant they were chasing after the women and even raping them if they weren't interested. It wasn't, they didn't get to say no. So she, in order to save herself, begged her father to help her, and he transformed her into the laurel tree. Saddened and unwilling to abandon his object of affection, he swore to always honor her and keep the tree evergreen. And he made a wreath out of the laurel tree branches, and he wears it on his head. So Daphne in Greek is actually the word for laurel. So the laurel is the divine feminine, who is being dishonored by the masculine, being chased after, trying to rape her. Apollo's hubris mocking Eros, love. The gold arrow that shot him with love is the metal of the sun. The lead arrow that shot her with hate is the metal of Saturn. And Daphne is the daughter of the Mother Earth. And it's this story of what happened to the feminine and the feminine principle. The Pythia, the oracles at Delphi, chewed laurel leaves before prophecy. And Daphne was the daughter of Gaia, who's connected to the Oracle of Delphi. I know everybody kind of thinks of it as the Apollo, Oracle of Apollo, but that was when he took over and he slayed the serpent. Before he ever entered the picture, it was an oracle devoted to the mother goddess. And he killed the python serpent and took over the oracle. So these laurel wreaths are a nod to this story, and they are used contemporarily to represent grandeur, success, and dominance. Emperors and kings would wear them or show them wearing it. And it is tied to the masculine ruler energy, but what it used to represent was something else. It was connected to the feminine principle. So here's a beautiful image of, it's either Mother Mary or Virgin Mary. Mother Mary or Mary Magdalene. So what this symbolizes, the laurel in that story, is the time of the violent masculine patriarchal energy slaying, attempting to rape the previous feminine power. And Cassandra, if you've heard of Cassandra, she was a prophetess. Her more modern story is that Apollo gave her her gift, but said he was going to do it for a trade, and the trade was she had to sleep with him. She said yes just to get the power, and then said no, and then he got mad, so then he cursed her and said, "You have the gift of prophecy, but nobody believes you." But actually, she had the gift already. from a previous matriarchal time. And then he was just interested in her, wanted to sleep with her. She said no, and he got mad and cursed her. So it's the spurned masculine that doesn't get what he wants and then harms the feminine. The laurel is evergreen. So what does it mean for it to turn green again? It means that the heart comes alive again in the masculine principle. He's been divorced from his heart due to violence and raping and taking and killing and dominance and focus on winning, which is the same story in the Grail myth. If you know the Grail myth and the Grail King and the wasteland, he's disconnected from the feminine and the land has gone to waste. So the only true dominion is when we have mastered and fully activated and live from the power of the heart. And this is not ego dominion. It's not power and control and winning and taking and violence and domination. That's not the true world leader. And this is why Jesus said the meek will inherit the earth. And it's why the return of the divine feminine is key, because she represents the heart and love. And, going back to that Cherokee prophecy, the masculine is meant to be in service to the divine feminine, the Grail Knight on the Grail quest. He's meant to protect and defend her so she can walk the earth unharmed. Her role is to lead a man back to his soul. She's the spiritual teacher and the spiritual teaching. He's the student and the apprentice, the Grail Knight. Now, this can be about external male-female dynamics, but ultimately it's about our inner masculine and inner feminine. And we live in an inverted world, which is that mystical teaching where we've literally prioritized and said the masculine is the ruler, and we've denigrated the feminine throughout history. So this is an important part of the teachings. This is also why you always see these paintings of like Virgin Mary, Mary Magdalene, even Jesus with a heart that's usually a flame, sometimes bleeding, sometimes have roses or a sword, showing an open heart, radiant with love. Also, when you see those mystical pictures where, John the Baptist or Jesus or whoever is putting two fingers up, the two fingers is a reminder that it's the two, the masculine and the feminine are divine together. And, you can really actually see all love songs as reflections of the love or the disconnection, because some of the love songs are sad and, whatever, between our human self and our divine self, our lower self and our higher self, our masculine, mortal human self with our feminine, immortal, divine self. And then we project that out onto the other. Actually, romantic love is a projection. And I teach that in Astrology in Your Shadow. So part of the journey is learning how to feed the flame of your own heart, how to make love with wisdom and with the divine and bring it all the way down and in. And it's the inner journey, and then it changes dynamics externally. It can affect outer relationships when this inner relationship has been prioritized. So the lunar standstill cycle is the rise and the fall of the moon over 18.6 years. So the moon has a lunistis cycle, just like the sun has a solstice. The solstice, though, is once a year. This is every 18.6 years. The major lunar standstill occurs when the North Node is close to and transiting over 0 Aries, which we just had it move from 0 Aries to 29 Pisces, end of January. The minor lunar standstill is when the North Node is at 0 Libra, and the degrees surrounding, and then the equalizing is when North Node's at 0 Cancer or 0 Capricorn. So these are the 4 Aries points that correlate with the equinoxes, the solstices, and they correlate with the major lunar standstill cycle. I have a whole YouTube video on this. So I'm not doing a deep dive here, but if you want a deeper dive, it's called Solar and Lunar Standstills Calling in the Light. And you can find it on my YouTube channel. So at the major lunar standstill, which is where we are now, we have something called the moon going max out of bounds. At the major lunar standstill cycle, the moon will reach its highest and its lowest declination. It goes way beyond the boundaries of the sun. And the moon at this time aligns with the galactic center and the anti-galactic center, which is opposite. Literally, the moon will cross right in front of the galactic center and the anti-galactic center, and it does not do that at other parts of this 18.6-year cycle. And they get infused, or the moon gets infused by the energies of the Golden Gateway, which is esoterically what galactic center is called, and the Silver Gateway, which is the anti-galactic center. At very high latitudes, like last summer, I actually went to not Stonehenge, oh my God, Callanish Standing Stones, Callanis, up in Scotland. And there's like, because it's so far north, the moon will actually come really low, and it'll rise and just appear to skim the tops of the mountains. It doesn't go high in the sky at one part of the lunar cycle. At another part, it'll be crazy high, higher than you're used to seeing it. And so at really high latitudes, the moon can be circumpolar, like not setting, which is a rare event. And you can even see the sun and the moon both above the horizon at the same time in very far northern latitudes. So it's obviously would stand out, right? And it's not something that happens every year. It's not like the winter solstice sun once a year. It's once every almost 19 years. And so it's rarer, and it would be definitely something that would stand out to the ancient people. So this is a picture. Now, this is another synchronicity. So when we're at or near the equinoxes, the quarter moon equinoxes, so Sun in Aries or Sun in Libra, first degree, right around there. The quarter moon will be in early Capricorn, and it will literally cross the galactic center. This is the moon, and it's hard to see because moon is, the words moon is over what would say GC, but that's the galactic center. Very synchronistically, the moment we started this masterclass at 2 p.m. Eastern today, Saturday, February 22nd, that's what this picture is. You can see it here, February 22nd and 14, 2 o'clock and 7 seconds. I did not plan this. The moon was precisely aligned with the galactic center, heading to max out of bounds. We also had Sirius rising for 2 o'clock Eastern time when I cast the chart here in Asheville. I just picked that time because it can like work for a lot of different time zones. I did not cast the chart to figure out, the time. So the most max moon out of bounds is March 22nd, which is the same day as the Sun-Venus conjunction, the heart of the Venus retrograde journey. And the moon, right now, the moon is at 2839 declination. Its max out of bounds will be 2842. So it's literally three seconds, or what is that, degrees, minutes, difference. I mean, it's not much difference, but it is the winner if you're going to pick the one that goes the most out of bounds. So that happens on the morning, actually, of the Sun-Venus conjunction. So what you're learning right now connects to the equinox portal. Pay attention. So we will be working with this, and we will be doing like ritual and ceremony and dream incubation in the Holy Grail class for this portal as well as for other ones. So bringing us just back to the prophecy, in the 700 years, the laurel will become green again, good people return. We are there. The time of the return is now. It's the replication of the astrology is right now. Obviously, 2021 was huge for both the 700 years from 321 as well as the 777 years from 1244. But there's something to this 819-year Neptune North Node cycle. And it connects us energetically with the time of the Cathars and brings it forward. And in theory, or not in theory, but the saying of this prophecy is that the people that were there then are incarnated now. And that's why my most recent newsletter and social media post was like, calling all reincarnated Cathars. Maybe that's what drew you here. I don't know. So we also, okay, here's more things. And I was just like, oh, it like blew my mind. And I want to say, there was more, and I couldn't even fit it all in here. So there's more that will be coming in the course that I didn't even know was going to be part of the course, but now it is. So Esclarmonde's holy day in the Johannite church calendar is August 13th. And that's the time around the heliacal rise of Sirius, pending your location. But this year, August 13th, is the precise conjunction of Jupiter with Sirius. And Sirius is the divine feminine star. And we don't just have Jupiter conjunct Sirius, we have Venus and Jupiter, the two benefics, conjunct Sirius, all of them rising before the sun on August 13th, which is Esclarmonde de Foix' holy day in the Johannite church. And so, remember the Cathar teachings that the teaching is of direct salvation through your own efforts. No one outside of you is going to heal you or save you. It will be done through your own purification, your own dedication, your own devotion. Teachers can point the way. They can be a finger pointing at the moon, but the journey towards the moon is your own journey. And that's that hermit card for the year. And it's also the moon card and the hanged man. So the healing medicine is all about the power of love and open hearts and the descent as well as the rise of the divine feminine. And the astrology right now is all tied into this. And it's just kind of off the charts profound. So now I just want to mention about Neptune transiting from Pisces to Aries. So Neptune's going to go over the last degree of Pisces into the first of Aries. Then he's going to retrograde, go back. Then he's going to go forward again. He'll finally officially exit Pisces in January, I think I said 26. So the North Node just made this transit, but backwards from 0 Aries to 29 Pisces. And then Venus and Mercury are going to do it 3 times. We don't just have Venus retrograde, Mercury is going retrograde, and they're both retrograding in the same part of the sky. And Saturn is going to do this too, but that's going to be like May. But the most important of these is Neptune because he's the slowest moving body. So he takes like 165 years to move around the sun versus the nodal cycle, 18, 19 years, Saturn cycle, 29, 30, Mercury and Venus, yearly cycles. So Neptune is going to move into Aries March 30th, and he'll go back and forth until entry for good. And in tropical astrology, 0 Aries correlates with the spring equinox in the northern hemisphere or the fall equinox if you're in the southern hemisphere. And in the 8 gates of the sun, it's the gate of resurrection, because it's actually in spring is when the sun resurrects itself out of the darkness of winter, the sleep of winter. It's around the time of Easter and the resurrection of Jesus, appropriately timed around there. So this is also the point at which we determine the ages from. And I'm not going to go into that. I teach it in Stargate, but essentially the backdrop of the stars behind the sun moves very slowly and corresponds with the ages. So we have Neptune, the planet of mysticism and spirituality and the unconscious and all these things that we talked about, transiting from the last degree of the tropical zodiac into the first degree, from the omega point to the alpha point, from the end of the end of the end to the beginning of the beginning of the beginning. So 30 Pisces, I'm going to read you the Sabian symbols. So 30 Pisces, last degree of Pisces. A majestic rock formation resembling a face is idealized by a boy who takes it as his ideal of greatness, and as he grows up begins to look like it. The power of clearly visualized ideals to mold the life of the visualizer. So he just talks about this degree is all about something that we look at and we grow into. It's he says it has to do with archetypalization. These are pictures of stones from the Kalanish standing stones from last summer, where you can see the little faces. Do you see it? All of them. Oh my God, especially when you're there when it's raining or just rained and they're all wet. Wow, they come to life. Like they are just these beings, and they're really ancient and amazing. Anyhow, I had a ton of face stone pictures, but I just picked 2 to put in there. So just notice that this degree is a degree of the masculine starting as a boy and coming into form as he grows up and takes something to become his ideal that he grows towards. Now here's 0 Aries. Sabian symbol, a woman just risen from the sea, a seal. is embracing her. Emergence of new forms and of the potentiality of consciousness. So, for me, what stands, and there's a lot more he writes, so you can read the whole thing. It's an impulse to be. You see here the divine feminine emerging from the waters of the unconscious. Her impulse is to be coming into form. She emerges fully formed. Doesn't say she's a little girl and she comes out and she grows. She emerges fully formed from the waters of the unconscious. And that's the secret teaching of the masculine and the feminine. He needs our inner masculine, all of us, our human self, our ego, will, mind. So this is not about men. This is about the masculine principle. It can be related to some men, but I know some men that honor the feminine more than some women I know. So this is about essence. The masculine needs to grow up mature within all of us, the mortal, smaller self, and needs to have this ideal to grow towards. Whereas the feminine within us all needs to emerge fully formed, the divine higher self that is eternal. And the Saturn and Neptune both are going to go into Aries. Saturn does it in May and then goes back and forth. But they're both going to be conjunct February 20th, 2026 at the 1st degree of Aries. 45 minutes of the 1st degree. So 0 degrees, 45 minutes. And a new Saturn-Neptune cycle will be seated at the degree associated with the start of the tropical zodiac. And so that is like a massive reset, new beginning, balancing the material of Saturn with the spiritual of Neptune, reality of Saturn with dreams, a reset point. And this image of woman coming out of the ocean with a seal hugging her is going to guide that new cycle. And it's deeply connected. 0 Aries is deeply connected to the cyclically dissolving and emerging feminine principle. So Demetra George is an astrologer who I have immense respect for. I really love her and her work. And she talks in, I think it's one of her books, like the Dark Moon Goddess book, I believe it is. She talks about how the moon moving from new to full to dark and starting over again shows the loss and return of the cycle of the feminine. So I remember when I read this, what really stood out for me was that she goes away as part of her cycle. It's not because she was killed or made to or forced. It's part of her natural cycle to disappear and then reappear and return. And so the Saturn-Neptune conjunction at the 1st degree of Aries is this re-emerging, coming into form. And I'm going to share a couple dreams. One of them is at the very end, but one of them is now. So, and I've said this one before, so you might have heard it, but I had this dream, I don't remember when, it was a few years ago, where I'm standing in front of a lake underneath the full moon at midnight, so no sun, stars and moon. And all of a sudden, the lady of the lake starts to rise. And it's like numinous. It is the epitome of numinous, this dream. But very quickly, I noticed thousands upon thousands of women rising from the water. It wasn't just the lady of the lake, it was the ladies of the lake. And it was tons of them. And then a loud, booming voice says, "It's not the return of the one, it's the return of the many." And to me, that is part of the prophecy, is the return of the divine feminine is coming into and through all of us. It's all of us. We've all returned. We're all here at the same time on earth together. We have returned. She is returning through us. It's not one being. It's a multiplicity. So these are images of the lady of the lake. And I couldn't find the name for this one, and these ones are really old. So now I'm just going to share about my course, and it's called Holy Grail, Becoming the Vessel. This is also beautiful art by Nicholas Roerich, and you can see here's Orion's belt. Orion's belt points to Sirius. Sirius, the star, is in the box. Sirius is a very spiritual star. The Jupiter-Sirius conjunction this summer is off the charts insane. So this course is intentionally timed. It's opened by the gateway of the Neptune North Node conjunction tonight. And the classroom, for anybody who's already signed up, is opening tonight. So I will open the classroom and send out a welcome email. You'll be getting that tonight. Then we'll head into the Venus retrograde. The first class is on Venus retrograde station day. The last class is on Venus direct day. It's completely timed with the Venus cycle as she crosses from Omega to Alpha and back again and forward again, and is also timed with Mercury retrograde doing the same thing. It's timed with the moon max out of bounds as the moon crosses in front of the galactic center, as Neptune crosses from the Omega to the Alpha point. Also, if there's an eclipse portal, there's an equinox, and there's more. So it's interesting because Neptune North Node is at the start tonight. Saturn on the North Node is at the end, April 14th. And the last class is April 7th or April 12th. I think it's April 12th. Sorry, when Venus stations direct. So literally, Neptune on the North Node, Saturn on the North Node are bookending the course as we head to the Saturn-Neptune conjunction next February. So for me, the way I see Neptune on the North Node first leading and then Saturn, at the caboose, is that we're getting open up to the mystical, to the spiritual, but then we're also taking responsibility for it, grounding it down, embodying it, having mastery over it, over our own personal journey, and bringing it all the way down and in. And it's a precursor to that Saturn-Neptune conjunction next year. So the stage has been set. It's a replication of energies from the times of the Cathars. So the course starts March 1st with Venus descent. We have 3 classes. So one on Venus retrograde, one for Sun-Venus conjunction, and one for Venus direct, and then 4 tea ceremonies on the Saturdays in between. Venus set this up, my God, because all the Venus points are on Saturdays, happening in the evening. And so I can have all the classes be on Saturday at 2 o'clock so you can prepare for the precise portal that evening. Obviously, I didn't orchestrate that, but it worked for scheduling. And it can be on Saturdays at a time where it's not in the middle of most people's work days, and it can be at a time that might hopefully work for most time zones. Anyhow, all the classes are Saturdays, 2 p.m. They last for 90 to 120 minutes, 1.5 to 2 hours. The first class I say to allow for 2.5 because I have some intro material to kind of set the stage. And then on the Venus portal days, there's going to be a personal ritual ceremony that I give you that you do on your own, ideally in the precise portal or within 24 hours. And all the precise portals, March 1st is between 7 and 8 Eastern. And then the other 2, it's 8:30 to 9:30 p.m. Eastern. So I know some of you in Europe, that's like middle of the night, might not work. So you can do it when you wake up in the morning. If you're on the West Coast, not as much of an issue. So magically, all of this is lined up. And, the whole orientation for this course is to provide a sacred space for a deep and holy journey within, to connect with your soul, with your spirit, with the higher octaves of Venus, Neptune, and the North Node, with Sophia and the divine feminine herself. And these are the things, there'll be astrology teachings. I'm not teaching people how to read charts. So this is not a read chart astrology class. This is about evoking the archetypal energy and working with it in somatic and mystical ways. So it's an inner experience. It's not an analyze your chart class. I actually don't want people in the mind for this course. I want us in our bodies and our hearts and our souls and our spirits, but not in our head. There'll be Grail mystery teachings. We'll be working with the Grails in the body, Grails in the heavens, Sophia mysteries, and particularly the Sophia teachings that are pre-patriarchal, because the one that is the most commonly told is a patriarchal version of the story. Dream work, guided meditations, community connection, tea ceremonies with my dear sister, Gigi Chiarello, who holds a beautiful sacred tea ceremony space. I do ask for people to try and make it to the classes live if you can, and if not, watch the recordings as soon as you can after. I will post them within an hour or 2 after the class because they're aligned with a precise astrological portals, and I don't want you to miss the energy. The course will not be sold later on as on demand because it's a timely course. It's about the astrology now. I mean, the teachings are timeless, but the portals are about the astrology now. So it's not going to be available on demand later. At the end of the course, you're going to be given permission to download the videos and keep them. And then the classroom will actually be taken down on May 1st because I'm not going to, keep selling it or using it again, essentially. So you get to keep it. Is it just for women? No. Men, non-binary beings, and women all have feminine essence. We all have it. The Grail journey is for all of us. So becoming the vessel is a journey for all of us, and our own being our own Grail knight that protects us as we become the vessel. So it's all an inner journey. And I think this is the last slide. That's just beautiful image of the mother of the world. So we'll be working with the frequencies mystically, alchemically, ritually, ceremony, in community. And I have, oh yes, I almost forgot this part. I have a coupon code. So Neptune 10, all capital, Neptune, and then 10. You can get $55.5 off the full payment or the 2 or 3 month payment. And it's good until the end of the day, Monday. And I need to figure out how I can put this in chat. This is the hard part about, here we go. Let's see if that works. I think that should work. Yeah, that should work. So I also opened up a coupon code for just 20% off of the other courses that I have on demand. I've referenced a few of them, like Astrology in Your Shadow, or, oh, it doesn't let you, I forgot, you can only do a little bit of stuff at a time. Astrology in Your Shadow, Stargate Mystery School, Embodied Astrology. I don't know if I've mentioned other things. There's Calling the Light and Alchemy of the Asteroid Goddesses. Foundations, Intermediate Series. Anyhow, the links are there. You can see it all. So let me minimize this. How do I do this? I somehow made this thing be way too large. Oh, I made it so big. Hold on. There are a few more slides, and then I'm going to give you guys a ritual for this evening as well. So hold on. Okay. So the classroom opens tonight. Okay. Venus retrograde. So the descent and the rise of the divine feminine. This image was also made for me by Susie Farmer. So the 5-pointed star or flower in the center is the 8-year cycle of Venus. She makes 5 retrograde stations and then makes this beautiful pattern of a star or flower in the sky that also gets superimposed on the land. So the upcoming Venus retrograde is joined by Mercury retrograde. So the heart and the mind will both be in this deep underworld transformational space. They both will cross back and forth from the last degree of Pisces and the first degree of Aries. They both will co-join Neptune 3 times, co-join the North Node 3 times. So what's happening tonight is essentially a precursor of their journey into the underworld, and you want to pay attention. It's also during an eclipse portal with the lunar eclipse conjunct Alkes. That's the star in the Grail cup that is crater in the sky. Can't make this stuff up. Max moon out of bounds, crossing the galactic center, Neptune North Node at the start, Saturn North Node at the end. Like, it's just kind of crazy. Practically, Venus retrograde is a time to reevaluate relationships and finances and values, self-worth and self-love. But mystically, it's a time to descend with the goddess, like Inanna, like Venus, who disappears from the evening sky, joins with the heart of the sun, and returns again as a morning star, like Sophia herself, whose story is one of falling or descending and rising again. And we'll be working with that storyline. So many divine feminine figures have this storyline. And so we will be working with Venus retrograde mystically, spiritually, alchemically, for ourselves and our own healing, but also for the collective and for the healing and the awakening of humanity. So this is me in Glastonbury up on the tour at sunrise. So whether you journey with me or not in the class, I really recommend purifying your vessel right now. So pause or stop drinking alcohol, refrain from drugs. They both interfere with your auric field and can open it to other energies. Be intentional about what you consume. Food, water, beverage, whatever, but also media, movies, music. Consume what uplifts and purifies and helps and heals. Eat closer to nature, lots of veggies and fruits and whole grains and pure water from a spring or filtered. unplug from scrolling. Go out and be in nature, walk amongst the trees, sit by the creek or the river or the ocean. This will create a space of purity and receptivity to receive the deluge of inspiration that is pouring forth. But if we're overfilled or checked out or not paying attention or, whatever, we might miss it. So I recommend being intentional as you move through this time. So Holy Mother of God is what I titled this, and it's, the Neptune North Node conjunction. This is a transit in which the Divine Mother can appear, which is why when we were talking about the Mary apparitions, I was like, where next? She may appear as a vision, in a dream, in our hearts, in our minds. She can appear to us without. She can awaken in us within. And if you remember, the Cathar religion understood the holiness of the feminine. So she is coming back to heal the split. Essentially, we've devalued the feminine, we've raped her, we've dominated her. Yes, it's about women, but it's also about the earth and the animals and the children. Anyone weaker who can't protect themselves from the stronger, young, masculine energy can be represented by the feminine. And so this is the work that we'll be doing. And I really recommend paying attention to your dreams, which is why I'm giving you an idea on our dream incubation tonight. So these are images. The one on the left, the one on the right is Patient Sleeping in the Temple of Asclepius at Epidaurus by Ernest Board. The one on the left is The Dream of Penelope, scenes from the Odyssey by Homer. So dream incubation is said to come from ancient Greece and ancient Egypt, but actually it came before that, Atlantis, Lemuria, and even what was before. And what it is it's about intentionally going into the dream space, calling in a message, calling in a healing, calling in a visitation, whatever it is that your highest self is wanting to evoke. So I recommend dream incubation tonight. Now, if you're in the East Coast or Europe, you might be going to sleep, well, maybe not soon on the East Coast, but Europe, you might be going to sleep soon. And East Coast, I know for me, I'll probably be going to bed in 5 hours, 5, 6 hours. West Coast, maybe not so much. So you'll be awake for when it's exact, but you can still bring the dream energy into sleeping. So keep in mind that this Neptune North Node conjunction tonight is getting triggered by Venus 2 more times and Mercury 3 times. So Venus, the first one actually for Venus, was February 1st through 3rd. Venus was conjunct Neptune and then the North Node. So if you can think back, connect dots with today, tonight, and then what lies ahead, you'll see a greater story arc unfolding. So just take a slip of paper and write a word on it, a word of whatever you're wanting to call in that is the highest frequency of something. So divine love, divine healing, divine wisdom, divine light. Focus on the mystical, the spiritual, the intuitive, the psychic, the creative. What you're calling in is for both yourself and for the world. Have it rooted in compassion, altruism, and kindness. So we're not calling in, I hope so-and-so breaks up with their husband so I can date him. Or wife, whatever. We're coming from a different place with this intentional dream incubation. So the ritual is an intentional opening up to the field that's there and then bringing it in. And that can, that can bring in the divine feminine, that can bring in inspiration. You just, you make it your own. So upon waking tomorrow, before you get up or engage with the world or get on your phone or whatever, have a piece of paper or a pad of paper and a pen or a dictaphone if you prefer not to write that early in the morning, and record whatever you can remember, even if it's just a single word or image. Dream recall is actually like building a muscle. So if you can't remember your dreams, you actually have to practice dream tending to get that muscle back. And things actually can interfere with dream recall. So like if you have vitamin or mineral deficiencies, if you have high levels of stress, if you're not getting enough good quality sleep, all of this can affect dreams. Also, marijuana is known for blocking dreams. So if you smoke pot and don't dream, there's a connection between the two. I personally find dreams to be incredibly medicinal messages from your soul and spirit and from the universe itself. And working with your dreams is magic. And I love dreams. One of my favorite parts of teaching class is when people share their dreams. So they're like, it's like candy for me, but the good soul kind. So here's an Edgar Casey prophecy case, sorry. Only those who have been called may truly understand. Who then has been called? Whosoever will make himself a channel may be raised to that of a blessing. So this course will serve you on your journey of opening your channel, maybe for the first time for some, for others, opening it wider, for others still, perhaps support you in allowing the full descent of Sophia if you are sufficiently prepared. And that preparation would have been from lifetimes. Not any prep you can do in the next week to get to that. It will be different for everyone where they're at. But if you've been called, I look forward to journeying with you in this profound Venus retrograde that evokes the Cathar frequency from the past, but brings it full circle into the 21st century. And, my dream of the ladies of the lake, it's not the return of the one, it's the return of the many. So we're all here now. Any of us that have ever held this frequency are all incarnated now at this time on the earth for a reason. And so, some of us remember that, some of us are starting to remember, some of us are needing to remember. And I want to leave you with a dream I had the other night, actually, when I was preparing this PowerPoint. Oh, this art is by Analia Pavlova, Holy Grail. I really like it. So while I was having all these downloads and these mystical things and whatever, I had this dream. And at first, it appeared to be a very mundane dream. So there's different types of dreams. There's mundane dreams where you're seeing people, out in the world, people from your life, working through things from the day. Then there's like archetypal dreams, what Jung would call the big dreams, So, and there's other kinds of dreams. There's many types. So in the beginning of the dream, I felt like it was a mundane dream. I remember even thinking to myself, this is a mundane dream. And I'm just like walking around in the world and there's like people, it's almost like I'm walking in New York City, but there weren't giant buildings. So it wasn't New York City. I don't know where it was. And I was just passing people, and as humans doing human things. Felt very mundane. But then I realized everybody I meet, as I'm passing them, walking by them, stopping to talk to them, whatever, I'm looking for the spark of Sophia in all the people I cross paths with. And some people I would find it and go, and they knew it was in them and we would notice each other. And some people had the spark but didn't know. So then I would tell them about it to evoke it. And then some people, the spark wasn't there. So then I would talk to them and the spark would alight. And essentially this was the whole dream, was all these people and these sparks of Sophia. And I just kept moving through the dream space, connecting with a bunch of humans. So at the end of the dream, we all join together to bring the feminine in and through in the most mundane way, through our hearts, through our bodies, through our human selves, not going up and out, not floating off the planet, not saying, oh, I'm ascending to the fifth dimension and I'm leaving the earth, but truly arriving, bringing her all the way down and in, and then I woke up. And that is a Cathar teaching, of bringing the light of Sophia down and in. And William Henry, who's a teacher, teaches on the Cathars, and I've actually only just watched 2 of his things this week on Gaia. He talks about how angels, the Cathars believe that we could become angels here on earth, which is essentially when I say bringing heaven to earth, same thing, becoming the angel on earth. And it's about an activation of our light body, and it's not about leaving the planet. The light body needs to get turned on down here while we're here, feet on the ground, in the human realm, you know, finding the sacred in the profane, turning the lights on in the body. Um, Not an escape, but an arrival, as my shadow work teacher would say. So Sophia is the light of our souls, and we will be working with her in the class and in the course ahead. And yeah, I'm really excited. So as you can see, there were a lot of things that came in for preparing this, and it kind of blew my mind a bit. Some of it I did not see coming. Yes, for men as well. Yes. So, and I said it at one point, but I don't know when you arrived. So we all have the feminine and masculine. Our feminine is our heart and our love and our connection to inspiration and source. Our masculine is the guardian of our boundaries. It's our you know, ability to be discerning and say no and protect ourselves in healthy ways. You know, I always talk about living with an open heart with healthy boundaries. I remember a teacher I worked with said that it was important. How did she word it? She said, having fierce and uncompromising boundaries. And then from that place, you can live with a completely open heart because you're very well guarded in a healthy way. um, so anyhow, it was a deluge, and it was really fun preparing this. And now I can take any questions. If there's any questions about the course, and if you asked a question already in the chat and it's up there at the top, I didn't see it. So can you repost it? I mean, I could probably scroll through too, but I think it would be easier if you can just repost it. I'm curious about the possible yes, it is connected, and I really want to go. Oh, so sorry. I'm reading it, but I'm not saying it for anybody watching. So Astro Stephanie says, I'm curious about the possible connection to the Hagia Sophia. And it very connected. And I really want to visit that sacred temple in Turkey. It's like on my list. I mean, I just want to visit all the sacred sites on the planet and just be a pilgrim, you know, moving around. In fact, only give your attention under authentic circumstances. I think I missed some other part of a conversation for that. Oh, so the course is 555. And then there's also 2-month, 3-month payment plans, but with that coupon code, it's $55.50 off. So it's 499.50. Sorry, 499.50. And you know, I don't know. I think I should probably put that code in there again. So this discount code is good until the end of Monday. And then for anybody who's interested in other classes, I also made a code of 20% off for the other on-demand classes. And you can there's 2 places to look at them. My KAJABI store lists everything. And then that second link, that's my website. There's a couple that aren't posted yet because I haven't had time. So Calling the Light's not posted, and the Alchemy of the Asteroid Goddess is not posted. And I think there's like a masterclass that's not there, but the other ones are there. And that one, you can also see testimonials and other information. So yeah, Sacred Site Gypsy, yes. The new Grail link, still not working. What is the new Grail link? Are you talking about the course? Hold on. You're talking about the class landing page? I don't know. Let me see. Can somebody else make that work? Let me just make this go away for a second. I'm gonna make sure. I'll tell you, I've had some very interesting, yeah, I can see it. So I think it works. Great. As a side note, every time I launch a class, weird things happen with the technology. Like the landing page disappears, the emails won't go out. Like Today I spent an hour setting up to make sure that this Zoom thing worked, and that was my bad. So but it was also not entirely my bad because it's completely not intuitive the way they have it set up. It's so confusing, and you kind of need somebody to walk you through it step by step in order to not do it wrong. But I've had like other times where I know everything was set up perfectly and then something's just not working. And it's like, whew, I always have to like prepare for a bit of insanity. Um, so let me see. Thank you for this whole course, potent, inspiring. Thank you. I'm really excited. I love teaching. It's definitely my happy space. Would there be any connection with the Essenes? Yep, definitely yes. But I just focus on the Cathars. I mean, you know what's hard is a lot of the mystical history is the true mystical history is not recorded or was recorded and then got burnt, buried, whatever. So like tracking things that are mundane is easier through history and going back, but like some of these really magical, mystical things aren't. So I could find clear connections to the holy apparitions of Mary. I could find clear connections to the Cathars. But as you start going further back, it's either not recorded or it was recorded and it got destroyed, or it's like intentionally being, suppressed or hidden. It's interesting. So let's see. I arrived late. Is there a connection to Mount Shasta? Oh yeah, I love Mount Shasta. I mean, that's one of the, earth chakras. I used to live in Ashland, Oregon, which was close to Shasta. I would go and visit, and it's a very sacred mountain. It's amazing. Um, so the divine is most definitely connected to that mountain. I think they say, don't they say, oh, I can't remember if Shasta is the crown chakra or if it's the root chakra. I think it's, I don't remember actually. No, no, the one in Japan is the crown chakra. So it's the root. I forget. The Cathars sound like the Vestal Virgins in some way. Yep. So just so you know, throughout time, these I want to say pockets, but it's not really pockets. It's like these little soul groups with like thousands upon thousands of people. So I'm not saying it's like a small little group of people. They incarnate and they're the Vestal Virgins and then they're the Essenes and then they're the Cathars and then and it's like they keep coming and returning, um, holding the same frequency, you know? So Toshin has a beautiful book called Sacred Sites. I love Toshin. They have an astrology book too and a tarot book, and they interviewed me for the astrology. So I'm in that book. I have it. It's over there in my book room. So I can't answer any personal chart questions about like how this astrology is going to be for you personally, because that will go into a whole other place. But I can't answer anything about the mundane astrology, these teachings, the course. Sweet dreams, Nadine. The burning of the Cathars reminds me of a Paulo Coelho book, Brida. I actually haven't read that, but I've read some of his books. Um, it did not open for me. There it is again. Yes, root. Thank you. It's funny because I said that like 45 seconds ago. And you guys are just now answering me. So, oh, the discount code is Neptune 10. So here we go. Here we go. There we go. Also, actually, while I'm at it, you know what I'll do also? I will include these links at the bottom of this video. It will stay up. I'm going to send it out. So everybody who's signed up, if you got an email from me, you're going to get the email where I will say, hey, now you can rewatch the replay, because not everybody, there were a lot of people signed up for this. Not everybody was here live. And then I'll put the links in there too, again. And then I'll put them at the bottom of this video. The discount code is good until the end of Monday. So the 24th. Sorry. It's been interesting. This mystical Neptune energy has been like, before we came to do this, I was meditating and I just got turned on to this new meditation app where they have music, and I'm really sensitive to frequency. So, like, not all meditation music apps or even, guided meditations really work for me. I tend to just actually meditate in silence, because I just really like silence. But when it's the right music, it can really carry you, somewhere. And you want to make sure you know where it's taking you. Anyhow, so this new app has like this, there's no words. It just sounds like angels singing. And before I came to to teach this, I was like laying on my floor listening to this music, and I was like floating in the waters of creation. And I was surrounded by heavenly angels, and there was like this purity, but also this deep void darkness. And I was just like, I felt like I was high, like, drug tripping, and I wasn't, and I don't. So I was like, I was feeling it. So again, you have to create the space for that. That energy's there. We're being immersed in the energy, but we have to drop in. We have to meditate. We have to be still and be quiet. We have to go out and be in nature. We have to go out and look at the stars. Like, whatever you feel called to do that can serve that end, can help you to drop in and experience the frequency, because it's there and it's been there. It's been the whole last couple weeks of preparing this has been informed by the energy. Oh, the app is, sorry, I just got it. So I'm taking a class with Ubiquity University, and it's just it's a class on remote viewing, remote perception, but it's like a college class. So it's going through the history of psi and remote perception and psychic gifts and whatever. But then there's also experiential part to it. And I've been wanting to check out the university. So and the class just started on Thursday. So they told me about this app. It's called Expand. And but to be honest, I've only listened to one. There's a bunch of thing here. I'm going to play it for you. Not the whole thing. I'm just going to let you hear the music. Um, I've only listened to the same song on loop or whatever. It's not a song, whatever it is. So it's on the far right timer orb over here. And then you have to scroll through to something called Focus 10, and then make sure the background says melody music. And then you can set it for however many minutes you want, but I'm just gonna, so you can hear it. And hopefully, you might have to get deeper into it to hear the angels, but here, doing a promotion for their app. Can you hear it? Like what button? Oh no. What button? All right. Sorry. I tried. I don't know what button to click. It was on speakerphone. You have to get Zoom to allow outside noise. Oh. You hear the angels in your heart. Great. See, you received it. You just didn't receive it through your ears. Um, that I didn't know you have to. How do you get Zoom to allow outside noise? So the app is called, just so you know, I'm recommending something that I literally just downloaded and I only listen to one thing, but I find it of high value. So it's called Expand. Expand. So sorry you couldn't hear it, but it's very pretty, angelic. Um, So are there any other questions about the astrology, about the course? There were more things about the Cathar teaching, the Cathar time and teachings than I had time for. So there'll be more that I'm going to be going into in the course, just so you know. Yeah, it was like kind of amazing. And I have ancestors from that part of France. So it also sort of felt like my ancestors might have been talking to me. Yeah, maybe. It just says expand. It's Monroe Institute, expand. And it has like a little blue purple mountain, uh, like there. That's me with Sekhmet. Love Sekhmet. Um, so let's see. Are there any other questions? Thank you for this. The consciousness field is new and strong and ready for creating. Yes. What are the new ways to play with the field at this time with the Ready Collective? What do you think consciousness is to you? What do I think consciousness is to me? I mean, I think consciousness is our is our pure essence. And I think we all came from the original one consciousness and that we have the capacity to tap into that ancestry that we all come from. I believe one thing I want to say, and I'll teach it in the class too. So there's this thing that the Cathars like, they say that they really thought that this human world was bad and that it was all about becoming an angel and then returning to heaven. And so it was like they denied, like they were said to maybe not have sex if they became perfects, parfaits, and they kind of didn't think people should have children because it was just bringing more souls into a world of trauma and sadness or whatever. I don't believe that that was the authentic true Cathar teaching. The human and mundane and earthly realm is holy. It's just that we've forgotten. And because of all the trauma and the war and the violence and the raping and the pillaging and the loss of the connection to the sacred, many of us have gone up and out into spirit because it's been too painful to be here fully, to be in the body on the earth, to feel everything, to witness everything. So we've gone up and out. And you can see that in the myth of Astrea. So Astrea is the last of the goddesses that was on the earth as we devolved into the dark age. Everybody else took off because it was just like getting out of hand. And she finally had to leave because the pain and trauma and violence and hatred was too much for her heart to bear. So she went up and out into the stars. And so they say that the return of Astrea will mark the return of the golden age when she can safely return to Earth, when she can be here because the frequency doesn't break her heart, but also when she, a female goddess, can be here as a female and be safe to not be raped or killed or, controlled, and also the animals, and also the earth, and also the indigenous cultures, and also the elderly. And so there's something about we need to bring that heavenly, celestial, angelic part of ourselves down and in, but we can be fully human. It's not like we need to think this is just a prison and can't wait till I get back up there, No, heaven and hell are of our own making. And so we're bringing heaven back to earth, and we start with ourselves. So, thank you. Oh, good. You found and downloaded it. Wonderful. Listen to the angelic one. Um, oh, goodbye. So she's off on her day in Australia, 8:15. Yay. So it worked for some parts of Australia. I had a couple students going, I'm going to wake up in the middle of the night so I can attend that live in Australia. Thank you so much for today's masterclass. I love the deep dive and the magical connections. I have ancestors from that area of France as well. Oh, there's something. So first of all, there's something to visiting sacred sites. I mean, it's just profound. And I want to be leading more pilgrimages. It's just really hard as a single parent, and I don't have like a actual normal childcare schedule, and my kid is not at a place where she wants to be going off to stone circles and sitting in meditation for hours. So there's just like a lot of levels of preparation or planning that needs to happen. But I know that is something I'm supposed to be doing, and I need to be doing more. So far I've led 2 pilgrimages. I did the south of France in 2012 for the Venus occultation over the sun. And then I led a pilgrimage to Egypt in 2018. So I would love to lead them again to both those places. Also Iona, which I've now visited twice and just have a very deep love for. I actually brought one of my Iona stones. Whenever I teach, I bring crystals that call to me. They're right over there. And this is my Iona stone. It's like white quartz with this green serpentine little sparks in it. It's hard to tell. Oh, I love this stone. I love stones. And so, I know I need to be leading them again. But so that's where I was going with this. You said you have ancestors from there. So there's one thing to visiting sacred sites just because they're sacred sites and they have powerful spiritual energies and a lot of magic from, people over time gathering there and honoring, the feminine and the masculine, the principles of nature, whatever. But if you actually have the DNA in you that connects to certain places and lands, it's next level when you go and visit them. And I would also say, if you have a very strong connection past lifetime, it can be as well. Because I don't have any Egyptian in me, but Egypt is like, whoa, really, really important for me and my soul and spirit. But I remember when I went to Ireland the first time, I have a ton of Irish in me. My dad is like, I think 80% Irish. So I'm actually probably more Irish than anything else. And I went to Ireland and visited all these stone circles and sacred wells and caves, and it was like insane. Like the amount of magic and the way it felt like the land was speaking to me. It felt like it was because of my DNA, because I'm Irish, that there was like a connection between my genetics and the land. I sounds a little weird maybe, but if you know what I'm talking about, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So, um, what you can do, imagine 12 mirrors all facing you in a balanced circle, and you're in the center. I think you might have been talking to someone else, but that sounds fun. Silvering and create the gold. This chat should stay up, by the way. So I coded it and said, keep the chat, because I think last time it like disappeared. The icon up looks like DH. Non-coincidence. The icon. Oh, this woman? Aw, thank you. Um, yeah, I can see it. Um, let's see. Somebody made a message and then retracted it. This has been awesome. Thank you. Thank you. If you come to France, you might like Le Puy-en-Velay. Lots of Archangel Michael energy. I hope I pronounced that right. I took French in high school, even though I went to an all Hawaiian high school and I should have taken Hawaiian because I am Hawaiian and they were teaching Hawaiian. But anyhow, French is like, I love the French language. It just makes me happy. The moon is actually in Sagittarius at the start of this class, was crossing the galactic center, but then it will go into Capricorn tonight. It will go into Capricorn or not tonight, sorry, at 3:08 p.m. So like an hour and something ago, Eastern. And the moon is crossing the winter solstice point, and the moon is going out of bounds. So it's reaching further than even the sun can reach. So thank you. Do you think the Cathars link through to the pre-Christian Druids? Yep, I think they're all connected. I personally think they're the same people that just keep reincarnating in different parts of history. Asking from the UK. Yes, Glastonbury. I love Glastonbury. That's where I was initiated as a priestess. Mahalo nui loa, KV. All of our DNA has a history of all versions of life on Earth. DNA is a hard drive and it can be activated by location. Yep, I've experienced that. Right now we're in the moon void. Well, actually, no, we're not in the moon void anymore because the moon just moved into Capricorn at 3:08. But we were in the moon void. Oh, wait, no, sorry, this time. This is the wee moon and they do Pacific time. And I always forget because I used to live in Pacific time. So the wee moon was always my time zone. So the moon is in Sagittarius right now, moves into Capricorn at 6:08 p.m. Eastern. So yes, the moon is void. And the moon went void right after squaring Neptune. And actually, I was looking at that during the class. So when we started class at 2 p.m. Eastern, moon crossed the galactic center. And then at about, I think it was like 3:30 or something, I screenshotted it, but whatever, something around there. The moon squared Neptune, squared the North Node, activated the nodal axis. Wow, we're talking about all of this from the galactic center, and then moves into Capricorn and then crosses the solstice portal. So moon magic tonight. Um, which option in the app did you select for the music? Oh, so for the angelic music, it was just you go under expand. When you open it at the bottom, click the far right one, which shows like a little timer looking thing. And then you have to scroll through and find the one that says focus 10. And then just make sure underneath it on the background, the music is turned on. That was the one. I mean, I haven't used anything else on this app. I just listen to the angels. I like the angels. This is not a painting of me. No, this is from I wrote her name down in reference to her, Anelia Pavlova, and it's the Holy Grail. Yeah, I actually have never seen this one before, and I loved it. I was like, wow, because she really has the white heart, the luminous white heart. And she has the Grail that's really big. It looks almost like a sound bowl. And it's translucent and see-through. And it's got the vibrations echoing off of it. You can see like the different layers that go down. It almost feels like it's like reaching down to the lower chakras. And of course, she's veiled. And I'm not sure what's behind her. Are those flowers or bugs? I can't tell. They might be white moths. But yeah, I found that by accident. Glastonbury is the heart chakra, but the heart chakra, I believe, see, I studied this or researched it a while back. So here, I remember reading something. So for me, I feel crown chakra energy at Mount Shasta. I just do. And they say Mount Shasta is the root chakra. And I'm like, okay, fine, root and crown, they connect. But I ended up reading something from someone, I can't remember what it was or who it was, but they said that actually the chakras are reversed. They've been inverted or something, like the teaching, or I don't know. I think just go to the place and feel what you feel. I mean, maybe I was feeling the crown chakra because my crown is what wanted to be opened or activated. I will say when I look at Mount Shasta and the beautiful white snow when it's on the top, and then it has often those like funny looking spaceship clouds, up at the top, I just evokes the crown to me. So, work with what works for you. So let's see. I don't know of a woman named Dancing Hands from Avalon. No, I don't. There is a strong connection between the Cathars and the Bogomils. Yes, there is. Of Bulgaria. Ooh, I have my rose oil from Bulgaria with me. My favorite rose oil and also rose lotion and face cleaning products is from Altea. I'm like promoting lots of people today. Here we go. Altea. And they have the most amazing Bulgarian rose auto oil and rose products. Really clean. I'm very sensitive. I can't use most things. It's very clean product. And oh my God, it smells amazing. Angels. They could be angels, but I have to say, when I look up really close, they either look like bugs or some kind of orchid. Um, Totally realized the synchronicity behind my searching for the Lady of Guadalupe necklace yesterday. That's another one of the Mary apparitions, but Guadalupe in you know, that tradition, similar, the divine feminine, the divine mother. Yeah, Altea is amazing. Anyhow, so are there any other questions? And if not, we can wrap up. Can I spell that in the chat? Yes, Altea. Hold on. They regularly, well, I don't know how regularly, but they have like sales, like they had a Mother's Day sale and I don't know, whatever. So you can check it out, but their stuff is amazing. I just met you now, we're besties. Is that for me or is that for somebody you're chatting with? So I just put the coupon code in there again. Does that link work? Uh, should work. But I'm going to put it down at the bottom of this thing. I'll be sending out the email of the replay. And then for those who signed up, I just have to do a finishing touch on the classroom, and then I'll be opening the classroom and sending out the email, the welcome email, and then you can arrive. And for those who are joining me, our first class is next Saturday at 2, so same time. All the classes are Saturdays at 2 o'clock Eastern. And there is, in the classroom, there's a section, there's an introduction section and a prepare for the course section. And so you just take some time to go over that in the next, few days so that you can be prepared. It's not a lot of preparation, and it's like some journaling and introspection. Sign up for Zoom, find the community space, come say hi in the community. And just giving you some info. The schedule's there and information about me, but I did that already, but it's in there. And then Gigi, who's going to be holding space for the tea ceremonies, which are really beautiful. She's a beautiful tea ceremony space holder, divine feminine sister. um, the ritual for tonight is just dream incubation. So being intentional about what, and you can write a word on a piece of paper. Oh yeah, I forgot to say that part. I'm so sorry. Put it under your pillow before you go to sleep. You could also, if you want, take a crystal and put it under your pillow. When you're wanting to work with dreams intentionally, it's really good to make sure you unplug from screens, like an hour before sleep, so that you're kind of removing the frequencies that sort of can mess with things. And really, before you go to sleep, repeat to yourself, I'm calling in this dream about whatever it is you wrote on your piece of paper, and just know that whatever comes in is perfect. Like let's say you ask for a dream of the Divine Mother, and then you wake up and you had a dream about a turtle. That is your Divine Mother dream. Or maybe you have a dream about your own mother and the wounding you have with her from childhood. And that's a healing dream showing you what needs to be worked on to heal so you can reconnect with the purity of the Divine Mother. So it's gonna come in whatever way is meant to for you, perfectly, perfectly. Again, if you don't dream a lot, you might have to work your dream muscles. So, and I'll be giving teachings on that in the class too, because dream work is a big part of the course and of a lot of my courses. So, and people always have the most amazing dreams in the courses, because what it does is it just opens this space within yourself, and it's like you tell your conscious self, I'm now in sacred space. I'm open to this. And boy, your higher self's like, let's get all those messages in. Let's like pour it down like a waterfall. So let's see. Can you remind us the time of the conjunction? 10:47 p.m. Eastern. So that's my time zone. Adjust for your time zone accordingly. You are such an amazing blessing. Thank you. And I need to get further immersed in your world. Your teachings are rewiring, inspiring, resonant with my sacred ancient memory. Thank you. Yeah, they also look like fairies. I don't know. There's a lot of things going on behind her. You know what? When I'm done here, I'm gonna open the bigger image and look closer. Maybe I'll, if I remember, tell you all what it was in the email that I sent out. You were looking for rose products. Great. Altea is amazing. Bulgarian roses, I think, are probably the best on the planet. That are not sprayed with any pesticides. These aren't. Um, it's for you. You speak my language. Oh, Venus in Scorpio. My daughter has Venus in Scorpio. Scorpio. I love Scorpio. I mean, I'm like water, water, water. So I get Scorpio speaks my language. The ritual for tonight is the dream incubation. So, and if you missed that or if you need more instruction on it, I will send out the replay and then you can just fast forward to where I talk about it and hear the instruction again. But it's the dream incubation about what you want to call in with this Neptune North Node conjunction tonight and what it's opening up for you as we move into and through the descent into the underworld of Venus, also of Mercury, into this eclipse portal, into this equinox portal, into this maximum moon out of bounds portal. I mean, replicating a time of the ancient Cathars. um, Looking forward to the replay. Yep, I will send it. Well, actually, it's gonna stay here, so you can just go back. But I'm also gonna send it out because there's a bunch of people who were not here live who won't know to come and find it. So I think I'm gonna wrap it up. Thank you for being here, and I hope to see you in the class, in the course that lies ahead. And um, may we all call in the greatest love and light to descend into the hearts of all of humanity. You know, from the beginning in my bio, my first bio on my website, I've always said that my greatest hope is that all of the heart chakras on the planet become open because I know if they are, everything will change. We can't have this war and this violence and this, you know, these things that have happened and are happening because open hearts, it just, it's a whole other frequency will spread across the earth. And then I also always call the opening of the hearts of humanity, I call it in with the utmost grace and ease. So may it be. Blessed be. So thank you. And I'm so glad that this actually worked properly on Zoom and YouTube. And sending love. Happy dreaming tonight. All right. Bye.